The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, I want to take a call on this, and I want to, start by complimenting the Minister. He's been relatively precise in this debate. I think in his sartorial elegance, he looks the part of Attorney General already, and Sir, it's good to see someone who is beginning to get his head around some of the issues which face the SOEs. Mr Chairman, and I do want to make it clear that as a former minister, these issues are not simple, and the power pricing one is a classic one. I'm the first to accept that probably right from 1999 or even 1998, when some policy decisions were made by the Labor Party and then the Labor government, we didn't get it right. My view is that when in late 1998, early 1999, there was a signal of the privatisation of Contact Energy, the then Labor Party should have made it clear that we would reverse that, bring it back into state ownership, refund the money to the people who had bought it, and then I think the policy issues around energy would have been a lot simpler, because I think it's clear to most people that the conflict between being a regulator and being an owner has been one which has bedevilled governments of both sorts. And I want to make it clear there are two ways of sorting this out. One of them is the way of the National Party. Clearly, the energy companies are sitting as the most valuable at the top of their sale list. They are the group which Mr Whitehead at Finance and Expenditure indicated that there was public perception testing going on as to privatisation, and that is the right of government. It is the right of government to test public opinion as to whether or not the energy companies should be sold or not. But what I am hopeful of, Mr Speaker, is that we do get Labor Party policy to a point where we do make it clear that if at any stage there is any privatisation, then that will be reversed. People will have their money refunded, but we will get back to the point of having a coherent policy. And Mr Speaker, I think there is work to be done on energy policy generally, as well as in the area of SOEs. I think, as the Minister knows, have some sympathy for the SOEs and the possibilities that they have as businesses which need further capitalisation. And I accept the point of view of a number of government members that further capitalisation is not always the highest priority for a government at a particular time. And I have myself promoted approaches which would involve subsidiaries of SOEs being involved in joint ventures, and I think that is a positive approach. And for example, and I know that the Greens would not be happy with this, but if we ever crack the hydrogen, the coal-based hydrogen fuel cell approach, which works now. I mean, there's no doubt it works between Coal Research and IRL. We see it happening. So you have a no emissions hydrogen production which goes into a battery which can drive a car. It happens in New Zealand. It happens in my electorate already. The trouble is it's too damned expensive. But over a period of time, I'm sure that as research goes on, we can reduce that. But the question then is, do we want to have all of that production and distribution being within a state-owned enterprise, or is there room for partnerships at that subsidiary or subsidiary of the subsidiary level where that approach can be taken? And even if people don't like that example, and I just want to make it clear, I don't think coal is sexy. I'm not with Mr Brownlee at all, but I don't want to rule out its use at some stage in the future. Even if we don't want to take that approach, there are, for example, within Meridian, 3 or 4 areas. They're a subsidiary which is currently generating electricity within boilers. It's a really good technology, Mr Chairman, Mr. Chairman. Chairman.
Call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, it's a really good world-leading technology that they own. It's something which almost certainly won't be properly developed in New Zealand because we don't happen to run most of our home heating on boilers, but the ability to generate energy within a boiler system, generate electricity within a boiler system, and then recycle it back into the grid is something which has a lot of potential. Likely to be most used in north-east United States and within Europe. But I think we need to look for partners so that we can have, rather than do what too often we've done in the past, we've sold off that technology and lost all further rights to it. We want to keep some skin in the game, use the intellectual property that we've got in order to develop and have an ongoing return for New Zealand eventually to the taxpayer, without us having to put a hell of a lot more money into a risky European North American venture. You know, we lose if we put in the intellectual property and we lose, it's not the end of the world. But if we have the potential for getting money back, I think that is something that should be done. And in a similar way, I think we need to keep on being innovative around the way that we finance some of the other SOEs. I was involved in, as far as Kiwibank was concerned, for their what is effectively their second level capital arrangements, whereby they have, in order to fulfil their prudential requirements, non-ordinary share, what is effectively preference capital, but it is not, and therefore it is not debt, and it means that they can lend more. Sorry. Well, they do need more money, but I think they're probably getting about to the limit of that. But if the government is looking for a good return going forward, a good return not only for Kiwibank, because I'm sure it's there, but more importantly for the economy, through having an efficient, working New Zealand bank, one which I hope can move into some other areas. I think there is room within the business area now for there to be some further lending on the part of Kiwibank. I think the margins and if you like, the conservatism in lending, which is a result of having decisions made in Melbourne rather than Auckland or Wellington on New Zealand business lending, is something which is holding our economy back. And I think it's not something that can be changed immediately, but I think over a period of time it could be changed if the Kiwibank continue to grow in a reasonable way and in a careful way within the market. But as Mr. Archambault has pointed out, they do need capital to do that. My view is that it's something that could be a win-win situation if, in that particular case, the government decided to put some of what are some very clear, unexpected and unbudgeted surpluses into that area. It's one of nil net fiscal cost. Because there is an asset which sits with the investment, with the money that's putting in there. It may be as education spokesperson, I could argue for another use, but and I think that education's an investment as well. But in this particular case, you have an ongoing asset which sits alongside the money, and so it's nil net. In that particular sense, and I think from the government accounts point of view, from the way that people look from overseas as we're rated, then I think it would be seen in a positive way as opposed to an area which would be seen as negative by rating agencies if in fact it added to the deficit, which this sort of investment would not do. So. Well, back to Meridian. I think it's fair to say that they are a well performing SOE. certainly not for sale